We're back for another edition of the Shawn Witten Coaches Show. Good morning or good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching the show. Thanks for being with us again. We are live again, checking in with the head man of Elizabethton High School, head coach Shawn Witten. And coach, regular season over, and we're getting ready to do some highlights against Sullivan Central. But it's an overworked cliche, but the second season's about to again for Elizabethton football.
Well, this is the best part about the regular season. It's just you work so hard. Now it all comes down to one game. And it's survival and move on. And everything you talk about during the preseason and everything you work on during the regular season, everything's got to come into play for the postseason. So we're excited about the opportunity to be at home. We're excited about playing a first common opponent in Sequoia. We're fortunate enough to be at home to be able to save that 3.5 hour bus ride, and then we're excited about the opportunity for our seniors to be playing at home again, and then just to be in your comfort zone, to be in your backyard and in a great stadium, being at turf, and not have to worry about the weather conditions. And we feel like we're playing really good football. We still feel like that we haven't reached our maximum potential, and we get the opportunity to go show that again this Friday.
Let's recap the season just for saying sake. We opened things up at Science Hill, losing 50-25, then reeled off a ton in a row. South Green 49-7. We take a conference opener at Sullivan East at 59-16. Defeat a good Daniel Boone team 35-21. Homecoming a 49-0 shutout over Granger. At Tennessee High, the Stonecastle hard fought 35-16 win. We go to Union County and win 42-13. Lose to Greenville here 24-10, and then come back and put 50 points up in the last two games. South 52-27 on senior night. Sullivan Central 50-14. And so, coach, looking down the schedule, strength of schedule, you got 7 teams we played in the regular season that are in this year's playoffs. So not too many cream puffs on the Elizabethton schedule.
Well, that's really good, and a lot of the Daniel Boone, the number 1 seed. You got Science Hill. It's the number 3 seed is really good. Greenville's the number 1 seed. I still feel like as you go down through there, there's not a lot of those are some big wins, but there's still some plays and quarters we left behind. We got off to a great start against Daniel Boone. The first half was pretty much flawless. The first half against the Sullivan South was really good, 28-13, and then our first half against Greenville was really good. So we've got to really do a better job of coming out after halftime. We had a little bit of mental lapse against Daniel Boone, let them crawl back in. We were up 28-6. There we are against South, had an opportunity to kind of close it out and did a thing there. And then we had the game against Greenville, 3-3 half, and then they were able to capitalize off that third quarter. So we got to do a better job, in the second half of really putting teams away, and we get an opportunity to do that during the postseason. So that's what we've really like to do is jump out on people early, and then we've done a great job of that of Greenville sustaining their drives, creating the tempo and making a lot of plays early. But we got to do a better job of finishing the games late this time in the season.
Let's go ahead and take a look at the highlights of the Sullivan Central game. We won it, of course, 50-14, 472 yards of total offense for the Cyclones. Held Sullivan Central to 24 yards rushing. So it was a heck of a performance. I felt like on a tough night. I mean, we talked about this last week. You're in a tough spot. You want to get your guys ready for the playoffs to keep them fresh, and yet obviously here's a team that hadn't won in 29 straight games. So their backs are against the wall, and you don't want to embarrass them. And I don't think you did. I thought they scrapped you and played hard, but you were in a kind of tough spot last week.
Well, it was. It is. You don't realize that till the game's already passed. You don't really want to get some guys banged up, and then obviously you want to continue to spread the football around, and then how much you play certain people. And when you start subbing one position, it's just you got to start subbing them all, because it's when you start subbing linemen, do you leave Cordy in there with a backup lineman? Do you leave Carter in there with some different receivers? And we try to reward guys like Kush Patel, the seniors that come out, giving them a chance. Mirage Klein at corner, which trying to get him in there, and because he's practiced so hard all year long, and different people in there. So unfortunately, we had some guys get banged up, which made our decisions get some guys out of the game. But, it's just, Ryan Wessel could have probably had 15, 16 catches in that game. Just how much do you play him? Corey, obviously, we want to try to get him over 1,000 yards, and just how much do you get him going. So, it really becomes a tough task for us, and just, want to get out there and play well and get a good win. And then, get yourself ready for the playoffs.
Corey did, in fact, go over the 1,000-yard mark, which is incredible. And anytime any kid on any level or anybody can get 1,000 yards, whether it's NFL or Duggar or Elizabethton or college, I mean that's special. I got him unofficially 1,040 yards and 17 touchdowns on the season, and he's not played the whole season either.
No, he hasn't. And he hasn't really got a lot of carries in a lot of those games. 10 carries a week ago. He had 21. He had almost maybe 25, 26 against Science Hill early in the season. So, he hasn't really got a lot of touches. He's got more touches maybe out of the backfield, cumulative of running the ball and catching the ball. And he hasn't got that many touches from punt return and kick returns either. That's where I believe he's most dangerous. So, obviously keeping him fresh and getting him ready to go. I think we're going to see what Corey Russell can do here in the playoffs. I mean, this is when it's time for him to really step up. We try to rest him, we try to get him recovered. He's kind of taken some hits this year, and and that's be kind of just he hasn't quite been himself. But I think he's getting ready to take off for us.
Tell you what, they go back to that Greenville game. That kid took some hits and bounced back up, and here's some hits, and those helmets are popping, his pads are popping, and I thought, wow, he ain't gonna get up on this one. He got up on every one of them. So yeah, tough customer, no question. Let's pick up the highlights and let's do this and drop this down into here. Again, we're watching in the Shawn Witten Coaches Show, so let's bring up our highlight package, and here it is, and here is the first one. Speaking of, here is Corey Russell. Let's pick it up right here.
Well, we were underneath the center here. We had Big Cujo at the fullback position, and we're in an unbalanced formation, and we go 68 yards on the first play. So this really set the tone here. Just great blocking downfield, and then obviously nobody blocking behind the ball, and then that's the speed, and the athleticism you like from Corey. Just be able to take it the distance. He has the ability to do that, so it just really got us off to a great start.
So that's Corey Russell, and then here comes right back an 11-yard touchdown run. Here we go.
A lot of the same play here. Just we got our bigs in front of him. This is our kind of our goal line set there. With Cujo blocking ahead of him, this is a block down, kick out, and just be able to squander through there and get in the end zone.
So Corey Russell back-to-back touchdown scores, and again over 1,000 yards on the season now. They come back here for just a second, kind of hold this. I thought we was going to see a point after. By the way, thanks to Huddle for shooting this for us, and we use their services, of course. So coming up next, they line up for the 2-point conversion, and then we go to.
Yeah, we missed our first extra point here, so we lined up and tried to go for two, and then we didn't capitalize on that one, but we were able to come out. We got a penalty on that 2-point conversion, and then we were able to capitalize off that, and really that's what really we want to be able to do, Tom, in the playoffs is you got to stop the run and be able to run the football. And what we got to be able to do is when we can jump out on people early and get to a 2-score game, we got to be able to put our bigs in there and sustain the clock. We can't allow people to be able to make comebacks or give them. We got to limit their possessions, and we feel like we can do that. We've worked Joseph Collins in as a defensive lineman and tight end. We've worked Cujo, who can play fullback offensive line. So we feel that we got to be able to try to get into some type of power game to slow people down in the playoffs.
Here we go. Let's pick up some more highlights. Here's a 35-yard touchdown pass to guess who? 83.
Well, this is a takeoff route to Ryan Wetzel at the top of your screen, just to be able to drop back and let it go. We've kind of worked on this the last couple of weeks to just really try to throw the ball down the field and be able to make some plays. So Ryan has the ability to go up and make a lot of catches and make a lot of plays. We saw that at Tennessee High, and it's 17 touchdowns on the season. You talking about Corey having 17 touchdowns or a receiver having 17 touchdowns. I mean, we've got so many weapons that if we'll all play and get ourselves ready, we'll be tough offense to stop.
Here's a 26-yard touchdown run coming out of that I formation.
It's a good job by 36 on the edge there, just setting the block, and just be able Corey can go inside out, and anytime you can get behind a 300-pound fullback, it's pretty good there. So we think we may have found something, and we got to be able to execute it on Friday.
Cujo can lay the wood to him.
No, there's no question, no question.
Here's Joseph Collins, the defensive end here, on a forced fumble.
Well, this is what our defense has got to be able to try to do, Tom. Is creates a lot of forced turnovers, and this is Joseph Collins getting down the sideline. Him and Nestor just be able to tackle, forced fumble there, and it's just a great effort by our guys. And Joseph's been an unsung hero all year, his whole career. He doesn't get a lot of the credit that he deserves, and but we wouldn't be here today without him.
Again, we're talking to Shawn Witten, the Shawn Witten Coaches Show. Be sure and like this and share it, and you do, and we thank you for that. Coach, here's another big defensive play.
This is an option route. Good job by Tyson Vance, Parker Hughes, coming down there and making a play, recovering it, and that's what we've got to be able to do is force turnovers and get good field position.
Great pickup there again by Parker Hughes. So a couple of more highlights here from the Sullivan Central game. Then we'll get you ready for Sequoia. Here's Austin Outland with a big run here.
Well, this is just an outside zone play, and just be able to turn it up and make a lot of plays. Austin has that speed we've talked about all year long, and make some big plays. Can be a 1-2 punch for us. I think that a kid like Austin may help us in the playoffs because what we got to try to do is we need to get Corey more involved. So, when we have a game plan for Ryan, game plan for Corey, we got to be able, maybe if we're going to be able to throw the ball, and people are going to give us a lot of man-to-man like Sullivan South did, instead of having Corey in as running back, we need to have him outside making plays. So I think that's where Austin Allen is really going to help us out here in this week and next week.
Carter Everett again, 14-yard pass to Keelan Hall, our final highlight.
This is a little pop-up screen on the outside here. Good blocks by Zach Hartley and Cush, and big yard, big pickup for us.
And there you go. That's the highlights for, again, the Friday night ball game against the Sullivan Central Cougars. Again, we are in the middle of the Shawn Witten Coaches Show. We appreciate that very much, being with us to allow us to, again, talk to you and come up here and talk a little Elizabethton Cyclone football. So, again, you get ready for the Sequoia Chiefs coming to town. Tell us about these guys.
Well, it's a team that we've never played before. Obviously, it's a team that's finished third place in that Chattanooga region. It's a team that that's played some pretty good people. They've obviously given up a lot of points. They've scored a lot of points as well, but it kind of reminds me a little bit of a Sullivan South team. They got a 1,000-yard receiver. They got a 1,000-yard running back. Obviously, quarterback makes a lot of plays, but it's the second season like you've talked about, and you got to be ready to go. So the thing about into the playoffs is you got to throw out the regular season records. You got to throw out all those situations, and you got to be ready for the unexpected. That's our mentality is. We've got to create a game plan where we can jump out on early. We can't let a group like this hang around. And obviously, they've got some weapons. They got a receiver that looks a lot like Ryan Wetzel. He's about 6'2" and a half. It has, like I mentioned, over 1,000 yards receiving. So, you talk about what Ryan has done and accomplished this year. And he's still not over 1,000 yards. So, when you have a 1,000-yard receiver, it's going to be tough to stop. They do a lot of run-pass option plays. Quarterback's extremely athletic and talented. And so we got a three-headed monster to really stop Friday night.
Let's recap Sequoia so far in 2017 and 18. You look at their first game winning Telco Plains 49-18, at McMinn Central 21-14, losing two in a row, Chattanooga Central 46-20, losing to Loudon 42-14. They at homecoming win 27-7 over Hickson High School. They go to Sweetwater and lose 31-14. They go to East Hamilton, lose 17-7. Then they get two in a row. The Howard School 29-13. They go to East Ridge and win a conference game 38-29. Then lose on senior night. Anderson County got them pretty good at Anderson County, 70-13 the final score. They're 5-5. They've been outscored. Again, Sequoia scored 232. They've given up 287. This is their 10th playoff appearance as a school. They're 4-8 all time. So that's kind of tale of the tape of Sequoia. What's the scouting report on these guys?
Well, like we talked about, they do a lot of run-pass options. They're pretty stout up front. They kind of play a split-four defense. Four linebackers, so they got a lot of big kids. That tells you that they believe in playing stout physicality football on defense. They a lot of times play a cover three, which three secondary guys and on the defense. So it's just going to be a physical football team, and we got to do a great job. They obviously want to try to run a lot of zone. We got to do a good job. Our secondary is really going to have to play some big games here in the postseason. Obviously when you play a 1,000-yard receiver, then what you have to defend going forward in Anderson County and Greenville. So our secondary is really going to be the key to our success. And we've got to have continue. We were out without Evan Perkins Friday night. Which was out. So we've got to have different guys step up for us. We just obviously the game plan going into is obviously get Corey involved, get Ryan going in and getting him going. But obviously people are going to take Ryan away. They're going to double team him. So we got to find different ways to get him moving around, and we got to have different guys step up. I really think a guy for us that can be key for us Friday night is Zach Hartley. This guy's played a lot of minutes. He's a sophomore. He had some big catches early in the season. He's kind of faded away a little bit, kind of gone through a little bit of a sophomore slump there. But sometimes that happens, and you're not getting the ball as much, and you're not kind of a favorite for the offensive weapon to go to. But you just got to keep playing and keep working, and I think he's a big guy for us that has a lot of speed and talent. And he's got to be able to come to play Friday night.
I want to say hello to some folks we saw at the game Friday night. So, man, we watch this show. We love it. So, hello to Chris Hensley. Hello to Rudy Johnson, who is Carter Everett's granddaddy, and his grandmama, Pat Johnson, and JJ, Jennifer Johnson, and Sophie Everett, who was embarrassed to pieces when I said, I'm going to say hello to you. She says, oh, well, okay. So, there you go. I want to say hello to those folks. And also the APO ladies. That's the ones we said hello to last
Yes,
week.
yeah.
Yep. And again, those are some of the folks. Again, Chris Hensley and Tony Briggs and these folks, thank you because the show continues to grow. Like it and share it. Whole point about this show is to promote Shawn Witten and these kids, these student athletes here at Elizabethton. Coach, before we get into the brackets, I want to show this picture real quick. Oh, this is kind of neat. Let's see if I can show. There's the 1938 Elizabethton High School State Football Champions. I'm going to read all the guys' names on it real quick. Here's the picture. You can go to the 2SSAA Sports website and look it up. It's pretty neat. Excuse me. Walter Maupin, Charlie Maupin, Everett Hayes, Bob Givens, Bailey Williams, Ivan Hayes, Francis Childress, John Large, Harold Stevenson, Jess Benton, Walter Lance, Haywood Elliott, Cott Presnell, Clarence Hale, John Laws, James Muncie, E. Niles Brown, Ed Chambers, McDonald Sturgill, Eugene Webb, Frank Crockett, John Dance, Ernest Razor, Zeb Presnell, Harvey Smith, Colin Parker, hope I'm saying it right, Luther Boyd, and Teet Bosnell. It's pretty cool. I looked back and looked it up. They got a bye in the state playoff back in 1938, 79 years ago. They beat Dobbins-Minot at 39-0. They beat Shelbyville rather, 26-0. In the state championship, they defeated Jackson 26-14. So right here is what you play for. These guys have kind of set the bar again 79 years ago. But there's the Elizabethton High School state championship team, and I'd love to be sitting here in a couple of weeks and going into Christmas saying we got a 2017 state champion too.
Well, regardless of what your regular season goes, you get an opportunity to get in the playoffs. You see it all the time. You see six seeds in the NFL. They go. It doesn't matter whether you're a wild card team, you're a home playoff team, or you're just getting in. You find a way to get in. You've seen teams that get in at 5-5 win it. You just play tough schedules. You just never know if you have early season injuries or guys get back in the game. You never know that what can may happen. You never know. You have a young football team, and then you just kind of continue to grow. I still think at times we have a young football team. I still think that we've not maximized our elite potential. I still think we're still finding ourselves. Our offensive line has just been a work in progress. We knew our defensive line was going to be very, very good, but people are not going to run the football against us. And our secondary's got to really rise to those challenges. Our outside linebacker play between Jackson Killian and Kilroy Hill, Tyson Vance has really come on strong. That's been elevated their play. Nestor Grove's done a really good job. Who's a run-stopping linebacker, but he's really had to help us out in the passing game. And then, offensively, we've had guys really step up and had their moments, and come on strong. And we knew that Corey Russell was going to be the go-to guy early on, but Ryan Wetzel and a lot of different guys have shown up and really played well. We didn't expect to throw the ball the way we've thrown the ball in some games. So our guys have done a great job of pass protection. That's been a play in our game that hasn't really happened in my decade here. It's just our offensive linemen being able to pass protect. Because we've been a lot of running the football, and when you have a guy like Ethan Thomas that played 4 years, he had over 500 carries, the all-time leading rusher from Knoxville this way. You get a style that you like to play. So you see us offensively, Tom, we rotate a lot of people in the game, whether it's 24 running back, whether it's 24 wing back, whether it's 24 receiver. We do a lot of guys working in there. So, we just we feel like that we got a lot of football left to play. We feel like we've still got a lot of games to play, and we feel like that we can get out there and feel what we can do, and we still haven't reached our potential. We got a lot of football left to do.
Last Friday night, Coach reached his 95th win. He's now 95-38, all-time head coach. Regular season 81-29. In the playoffs 14-9. We're going to talk about that coming up here in just a second. Some more numbers. All-time Elizabethton 377 wins as a school, 203 defeats and 2 ties. Against Sequoia, first time we've ever played these guys, so we're looking at the Chiefs for the very first meeting ever. Last Friday night, Carter Everett, 16 out of 23, 191 yards, 2 touchdowns. He now has 28 passing touchdowns, 31 total touchdowns, and unofficially he has 2,279 yards of passing so far this season. As Coach alluded to, Wetzel 17 touchdown catches, Corey 1,040 yards, 17 touchdown catches, or 17 touchdowns rather. So a lot of individuals in a team sport. Of course, all that starts up front. Everett can't do it. These guys can't do it. They don't have the hogs in front making the holes.
Well, some guys that played really consistent for us. Garrett Jennings has done a great job at right tackle. Lucas Holly, who's I'm extremely proud of at the right guard position. And being a senior has really come into play. Joseph Keckner has worked in some center. Cameron Harris has done an excellent job being, tough at left guard. And we've had, our starting left tackle, Stuart Guest, is, obviously had a season injury. Ending injury, and we've worked different guys in there. Gaper Primo, we've brought Jared Grindstaff over. We've brought Chandler Mullins over to play some tackle position, and we've got Cujo obviously played some guard and some fullback. So we still feel like we're still coming into our own, and this is just a great time, Tom. I mean, playoffs are just awesome. You can talk about this is where big time players step up. The statistics you put in the regular season, you've got to be able to come out and play in those pressure situations. A guy like Parker Hughes is a freshman. This is getting his first taste of the playoffs, and we got a lot of young guys still. This is their first playoff game. So, what I'm extremely proud of is, the 14-9 record in the playoffs just shows that, regardless of how many wins and losses you got, you're getting in the playoffs, and that's the biggest thing. And then, the more times you get here, the better you're going to be experienced. We feel that last year's playoff run has really got to come into play, whether the guys were on the team, in the program, in the feeder program coming up from Duggar. I mean, they've got to really understand that what we were able to do last year in the playoffs, McMinn Central beating CAK at home, and then getting down there and playing a tough Alcoa team. That's really got to pay off for us Friday night.
2009 semifinal appearance, 2010 semifinals, 2012 semifinals, quarterfinals last year. So Elizabethton Cyclone football has tasted success. We want to knock that door down, and so it starts Friday night. Here's the bracketing again. Region 1, the winning team, of course, the front runner Greenville, will be hosting East Ridge. Sullivan South travels. They'll go to Chattanooga Central. Elizabethton hosting Sequoia, and Anderson County, the Mustangs, will host Granger. So the two winners will move on. Greenville East Ridge will play the winner of the Chattanooga Central South game. Our game, Elizabethton Sequoia, that winner plays Anderson County or Granger, and so that's the tale of the tape for the next couple of weeks. So it starts Friday night with Sequoia. I guess in closing here, keys to win this football game Friday night and get ready for the second round.
Well, a key for the Friday night and going get into the second round and playing well, continuing. Our secondary's got to be, it's got to play extremely well. They got to play really tough. They got to defend. They got to come up and tackle. They got to have a lot of awareness. But if our guys face great people in practice, and if, Tom, you've been to some of our practice preparation and guys working, we got a lot of guys working in there, and if our kids will come to play the way we practice, we'll have no problem. Whether it's Adam Cornett, they guard Ryan Wetzel all week in practice, Keelan Hall, all these things. So our secondary has got to be able to come key. It's going to be our number one key throughout the playoffs, is our secondary is really going to play extremely well, at tackling and defending in the pass, and we're going to play some good receivers. Obviously, Sequoia comes in here with a 1,000-yard receiver. He's got to be pretty good, and they're going to throw the ball to him, and we got to be able to do a good job. So, secondary is our number one key, and obviously offensively, we still got to be a strong team that doesn't turn the football over. Whatever situation it is, we can't be a team that turns the football over and gives other offenses opportunities. So we got to minimize that. And we got to take what the defense gives us, and that's been one of our superlatives all year long, is we haven't been a team that turns it over, and when you do that, you give yourselves opportunity to score.
There you go. Friday night, 12th man's going to be there. Weather's going to be pretty good for this time of year. Actually, it's going to be very nice, almost balmy. So the 12th man, the band, and the cheerleaders, and the stands should be packed. I mean, this is what you play for, and you fight and scrap and claw to get a home field advantage.
Well, our senior leadership's got to be key. It's got to be on point, and those guys have really got to be, get the guys going. They've got to be the guy, Cujo and Joseph Collins, Nestor Grove, Chandler Mullins, Ryan Wetzel. They've got to bring the energy in practice. They got to have the energy on Friday, because it all comes down to those situations. So, if those guys will lead, the rest of those guys will follow, and we'll be an exciting football team in the playoffs.
There you go. Looking forward to it.
Yes, sir.
Let's go get them. Shawn Witten Coach Show back next Tuesday for the next edition. So, again, like this and share us, and you have been, and I appreciate that very much. In fact, we're getting folks watching the show that don't even know anything about Elizabethton football. I got folks back up in West Virginia saying, I kind of like them Cyclone people. So I like that Witten guy. Well, you would. He's a cool cat. So we enjoy the opportunity to come over here and promote these student athletes. And, Coach, good luck. Go Cyclones.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it very much.
You got it. So, hey, we'll join you again next week. Check it out. Remember, all the playoff games start at 7 o'clock instead of 7:30. So 7 o'clock kickoff, Friday night, Citizens Bank Stadium. The Cyclones and the Sequoia Chiefs come to town. And let's go get them and get back in here ready to talk about round 2 next week. So, as always, for Coach Witten, this is Tom Taylor telling you, as always, win or lose, be a good sport. So long, everybody, and go Cyclones.